must balance the economy and health concerns. This is an excerpt from the President Muhammadu Buhari's speech. The Nigerian presidential broadcast of April 27, 2020 sought to adopt measures that may strike a good balance between health concerns and the economy. It also took note of the adverse effect the lockdown may have had on livelihood of Nigerians over the said period. Many thanks for joining us on TV and Business Daily. I am Chiwendu Osisiego. In today's episode, we shall seek to espouse on matters arising from that rich and inclusive broadcast from the President. Of course, with our guest today is a business consultant and public affairs commentator, is Mr. Joseph Oracha. But before we meet our guest, let's look at the business update for today. Oil nosedived below $11 a barrel on Tuesday after a major exchange-traded fund started selling its short-term contract of the commodity and storage concerns mounted as the coronavirus struggles demand. However, West Texas Intermediate, the American benchmark for June delivery, dropped 14.8% to $10.88 a barrel in Asia morning trade, a day after plunging 25%. International benchmark Brent crude slipped 4.4% to trade at $19.10 a barrel. Prices have plugged in recent weeks as demand for the commodity collapses owing to lockdowns and travel restrictions imposed worldwide to fight the virus. Last week, U.S. oil fell below zero for the first time as investors scrambled to offload it before the expiring of the May trading contract but could not readily find buyers. Nigerians should be ready to pay high or low prices for petrol following the price liberalization scheme currently in the place, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency said on Monday. The PPPRA is also engaging with the Central Bank of Nigeria to determine the applicable foreign exchange rate for the importation of petroleum products by all marketers. The agency executive secretary Abdul Kadri Sedu said this while answering questions on the new PMS price regime in Nigeria. He, however, noted that efforts were being made to develop alternative fuels to the PMS by deepening the utilization of liquefied petroleum gas, compressed natural gas as autogas in Nigeria. There are indications that the executive board of the International Monetary Fund may approve the $3.4 billion loan sought by Nigeria on Tuesday today. Although the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zima Ahmed, had on April 6 while announcing that Nigeria had applied for loan, said the funds were expected within 6 to 12 weeks, it was reported that the IMF would meet over the request today. However, if approved, the loan would be among the largest allocation by the IMF to an African country in response to the Covid-19 pandemic. The IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva had, in a statement on April 7, said the organization was working hard to respond to the request as soon as possible. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has delayed publishing its future oil export plans as it negotiates with international oil companies and local players on how to cut output in line with the global deal on production caps. The official selling prices for Nigerian oil, usually issued in the second or third week of each month, had still not been issued on Monday, according to a report. The production cut deal agreed by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and the Alliance is due to go into effect on May 1. However, OPEC, Russia and other alien producers agreed this month to cut their combined output by 9.7 million barrels per day, or each reducing their production by more than 20%. The first round of cuts will run in May and, of course, in June. And that's the business update on Television Nigeria. I am Chiwendu Osisiego. Now we shall be going on a quick break, and when we are back, we'll continue with the discussion. So stay with us. My name is Chiwendu Osisiago, presenter Television Nigerian Business Daily. In a globalizing world, ours is to keep you engaged, informed and educated on contemporary happenings in the business world. We therefore command a special audience of business-minded viewers who are eager to know more about business, I mean your business. Why don't you take advantage of our special affordable offer to let the world know about your concepts, your goods, and of course, your services. You can call us on 080-3071-6959 or 070-3234-9054. You can also visit us at Television Nigerian in Guzapi, Abuja, and follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Your business is our concern. Thanks for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, it's TVN Business Daily. Like I said earlier, we shall be discussing on the presidential broadcast 3 on COVID-19. The matters are rising, and my guest is here with me in the studio. He is a business consultant and the Chief Executive Officer, Lynch Tech Limited, Mr. Joseph Oraja. You're welcome to TVN Business.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, it's good to have you again. Okay, so how would you analyze the presidential speech? Do you think Nigerians are happy with the speech?
I can't speak for every Nigerian.
Okay.
But, the speech was anticipated. Everybody was expecting the president to address the nation because we've been on lockdown for 4 weeks now, and we needed to know the way forward. So the president coming out yesterday to give the speech around 8 p.m. was an eye-opener on what's going to be happening in the next 1 week. But I think with what we're expecting, I think most Nigerians are a bit happy because the coffee is going to be relaxed by next week. And then there are a couple of things in the speech that have given a lot of people hope concerning the entire pandemic.
Okay, you talked about, one of the things you said was that the palliative that was supposed to be given to people will continue. Do you think the palliative was received by individuals?
There's a lot surrounding the palliative that are already in place. We've seen over the media what has been making the rounds is the fact that palliative has been given to some people. Record shows that the palliative was supposed to be meant for the poor of the poor or the poorest, as the case may be. But a lot of Nigerians don't seem to have digested that very well because we don't know the parameters that were put in place to actually determine who are the poor and who are the poorest, because the pandemic actually affected the entire country. A lot of people lost their jobs, some are not paid. Nobody planned for this. So what most Nigerians were expecting is that this palliative should have gone round. At least maybe the federal government would have put in place certain parameters that could make this palliative reach to as many people as possible. But that has not been the case. We've seen some people grumbling. We saw over the news, I don't know how confirmed or unconfirmed reports, that some people are giving sport beans in some IDP camps. Some people said the bag of rice that was given was not enough. We saw a couple of weeks back in Lagos, some people were complaining that the quantity of food that was shared was not also enough. So I think what Nigerians need at this point in time, or what the government can do at this point in time, is to reevaluate what they've done the previous weeks and see how they can do it better.
Okay, the government said that they're going to give people that have less than 5,000 naira in their account and those that recharge less than 100 naira in their account palliative. Do you think after this lockdown, will they still give out those palliative they promised to give?
You see, if the palliatives don't get to reach people before the lockdown is over, I doubt if anything is going to come to anybody after the lockdown. Because after the lockdown, from what has been announced, there's going to be a curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. every day, and then the lockdown will be relaxed a bit from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So it means that essential service workers would be engaged in their daily activities, and then a couple of businesses might be reopened, which means the man on the street may begin to earn. So he may not necessarily need any government palliative coming to him at that moment. And if that is the case, I don't think the government will begin to look out towards giving palliative to people after the lockdown, because it's in this lockdown season that we need these palliatives, not after the lockdown. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so after the lockdown, how do you see the Nigerian economy as a whole? Do you think we're going to be like before, or you think we're going to be better than before?
You see, a lot of analysis and a lot of people have spoken about post-COVID-19. The truth of the matter is, I don't think the world is going to recover immediately after. Any economy in the world is going to recover immediately after the pandemic has passed. First off, if you look at what's happening in the crude oil business, the crude oil has gone below $1 per barrel, which means oil-producing nations are automatically affected by that. I saw a graph somewhere that shows the amount of vessels that are stranded in the sea. People are not buying this crude oil, and people are not being able to sell the crude oil. And for these vessels, you pay as much as $30,000 to $350,000 a day for these vessels to move from point A to point B. So it means that as long as these vessels are not being, as long as the commodities in these vessels are not sold and monies are not being exchanged, you're already running in deficit, you're already running in debt. So for any economy or any country whose economy is built around crude oil, a lot of planning and strategizing needs to be put in place to look into the aftermath of the entire pandemic. I don't believe, because most people will lose their jobs, because businesses will be folding up, because the pandemic has affected them and they were not actually sustainable. I did an analysis recently, and I got to realize that most businesses would have their rent due to be renewed, and since they were not functional, money has not been coming in, and they've been spending money trying to take care of themselves. Most businesses might not be able to sustain themselves. What I was actually expecting, or one of the things I'm hoping the National Assembly can do, is maybe bring in a waiver, kind of, and maybe maybe pass a law or something that would permit owners of business premises to have a 1 month or 2 month waiver on their rent, so that they can actually recoup for the time that they spent at home. So generally speaking, the economy is going to take a lot of brain power from the people that are actually economists and policymakers and the entire financial apparatus in the country to be able to beat back the economy to where it was. Let's not forget, we're going to have inflation happening in most countries, because prices of goods are going to go up, because the demand is also going to go up. We're also going to find out, you're also going to realize that the earning power of a lot of people is going to reduce compared to what they are going to be demanding. And certain items like food, healthcare items are going to surge in their prices. And then we don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. We don't know what's going to happen to the farming season. So we don't know if there's going to be food scarcity, as the case may be. So there's a whole lot that is going to go on that is likely going to affect the economy positively or negatively. So what I think any government should do at this point is maybe set up a committee that can look into these issues on ground and see how you can work out modalities to make sure that the economy doesn't suffer after the pandemic is over. Because you also realize that a lot of money is now channeled towards health as compared to what you should go into the economy. And don't forget, the government is still paying salaries. Some private agencies are also paying salaries. I saw somewhere that the aviation sector has laid off a huge amount of its workers. So there's a whole lot that's happening. I know the government is not making as much money as it should. I don't know what the taxation and the tax cut or what tax waivers they may be, but a whole lot is happening within the economy. And I think some economies might move up, some may move down.
Okay, you talked about the hike in prices of foodstuff. Of a truth, prices of foodstuff are actually high because as of yesterday, half bag of rice in the market is now 13,500. How do you think that a common Nigerian like me will cope in this kind of situation?
I think the way forward is for everybody to become their brother's keeper, honestly speaking, because a situation where a family of 5, the breadwinner of the house has lost his job, it's going to be really difficult for that family to cater for themselves. And with this hike in the price of goods in the market, essential good like foodstuff, which is something that on a day-to-day basis you're going to be having need of, the only way out is either palliatives come to play or we're just being our brother's keeper, where we can reach out to one another for help as the case may be, and if possible we can begin to put funds together. Because I was watching the news this morning and in Lagos there are food vendors. A group of people come together and then they put funds together and then they come up with food vendor spots, and then they are giving out food to people that cannot afford. If you notice, some celebrities, high profile individuals in the country, they are doing a lot of giveaways at this season. I think at this point what we can do to handle some of this thing is just to be our brother's keeper, honestly speaking, because times may get harder.
And the government cannot do everything for us.
Exactly.
The Nigerians actually fail to understand. Most of them wait for government for everything. Okay, so as a business consultant that you are, most people actually saved money, before this COVID-19. And now that this COVID-19 came, they spent most of their savings on, to survive. And that was the normal thing to do. So what would you advise them, especially those that intend to, build up a business and now they don't even have 1 naira with them? So what would you advise them to do?
At this point, it's anybody who is an entrepreneur is going to be feeling the brunt of the COVID-19. Money saved, the value of the money saved is not the same at the moment, because first off, the dollar has surged to over 450 naira to 1 naira. The dollar is now $1 is equivalent to 450 naira or more. So you realize that what you saved, it's not the same in terms of value.
Okay.
So what you were buying at, like you said, a half bag of rice, which was going for 7,500 or 8,000 naira before, is now 13,000 naira.
Like almost double of the money.
Exactly. So the value of what you saved is not the same at the moment. So what any business person would do at this point is to re-strategize, and then the whole pandemic has given us the opportunity to rethink our businesses and to rejig our businesses, because there are certain businesses that would die a natural death because your customer base has totally depleted.
Okay.
And without a customer base, you don't make money. So what any sensible business person or business investor would do at this point in time is to go back to the drawing board and put things in perspective. Cut down on excesses. That is why it's just natural for a lot of people to lose their jobs, because CEOs and other owners of companies would not incur more overhead at the expense of making profit. So what businesses should do at this point in time is just go back to the drawing board, reevaluate everything, and also realize that there are certain areas where that are able to survive this whole pandemic. Why some people are losing money, others are making money. So the ideal thing to do is to look at the essential areas that are still self-sustaining during this period of time.
So you're advising people to go into the essential services,
if possible.
Okay, they should change their business mind.
Yeah, you can evolve.
Okay.
You understand? Because there's no point flogging a dead horse. For instance, most of the businesses that are thriving over the internet.
Okay.
You get, because shops are closed. But if you have a system where you can actually reach out to people through, even in the midst of the entire pandemic, you're going to make lots of money. I'll give a typical example. Schools are closed.
Yeah.
But most schools have now opened online. So they are now teaching online. I even read in certain places that schools are now opened online and they're asking parents to pay full term fees.
Seriously?
Do you understand? Yes.
Yeah, I think I've heard that before too.
Exactly. So you realize that the school owners also know that they have to make money, they have to pay their staff.
Yeah.
You get, because the staff are actually on their payroll and they have to engage the staff in order for them to justify the salaries that they're going to be paid. So you also understand that as a business person, you are there to make money. You're not in business just for the name of being an entrepreneur or being a CEO. A CEO without commensurate cash flow is just sitting down occupying a title. You understand? So if at this point in time you are not making money, then you should reevaluate what you're doing. An idea flooded my mind yesterday. What was it? I was thinking, how do I move yams from Benue State to Abuja? Okay. Because at this point in time, everybody's going to be needing food.
Food stuff, yeah.
You get. So I've been thinking, how do I connect to the people at the farm and then see how I can bring it over to Abuja? And the truth of the matter is, a tuber of yam that may have been sold for 200 and be going for 450 at this point. So there's still, it's just all about evolving. If you don't evolve, you're going to fade away.
I think I agree with that. Okay, let's balance between the economy and the health concerns. Do you think there's evidence, like in the decision so far?
At the moment, a lot of energy and resources have been channeled towards the health of the entire nation, because that's actually priority at the moment. Our government is not in any way trying to lose more people. So if you notice, they are opening more laboratories across the nation. The government is doing its best to ensure that we have more test kits across the nation. We're also trying our best to see how the government is also trying its best to see how we can test more people and do their best health-wise. The Presidential Task Force was set in place. The Minister of Health was activated. And the NCDC was also activated. And lots of funds have been channeled towards that area. The truth of the matter is the government is trying to heal the nation to be able to build the economy. So we would commend them for doing that, but at the same time, they shouldn't totally leave the economy to follow. Because what's happening now is we know that when the budget was being passed, it was passed with a benchmark of $50 to a barrel. And now the dollar is at $0 to a barrel. So that's less than $1. So the economic team at the moment, that's the government economic team at the moment, it should be sitting down to reevaluate all of this and see how we can jumpstart the economy, look at our GDP, look at the inflation rate, look at how they can sustain SMEs, you understand, and MSMEs. Why? If they don't do all of this, when we are through with this pandemic, we'll be going back to the drawing board, which is one of the challenges with most third world nations. We're not proactive. We always wait for things to happen before we begin to react to them. What I expect the government to do is, while they are pushing in a lot of effort towards the health sector, they should also push in the same effort towards the economy. Get the minds that can actually look at all of these things. Thank God the House of Reps, Representative, and the National Assembly are reconvening today. Yeah. So it means that they are going to begin to look into laws that can be passed for both the health sector, the economy, and the nation at large.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's just quickly go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue with our discussion. So stay with us. Thanks for joining us again. And in case you're just joining us, it's still TV and Business Day. Like I said earlier, we've been discussing on Presidential Broadcast Theory on COVID-19 pandemic matters arising. And of course, my guest has been with me in the studio. He's a business consultant and of course the CEO and Managing Director of Lynch Tech Limited, Mr. Joseph Raja. Okay, Mr. Joseph Raja, do you think we are venturing into this post-pandemic after this?
The post-pandemic would be when there's either a vaccine or a cure to this. And since the World Health Organization has not said anything about it, we're still within the spheres of the pandemic. So until the World Health has come up with a vaccine or an acceptable cure, we can't say we're approaching post-pandemic, and we don't know how long this is going to be. I'm aware that scientists have also always been in the lab trying to find a way out. I think I stumbled upon the news that scientists at Oxford University in the UK are working tirelessly to come up with a vaccine. I know also that the US president has been making a series of press briefings assuring people that the solution or a cure, something is going to come out very soon. So we're just hopeful that something comes up, and then we'll be stepping fully into the post-pandemic phase of COVID-19.
Okay, now let's look into Kano State. Okay. Looking at the situation in Kano State, what is their fate now? Because now a lot of things have been happening there, a lot of deaths and all that. So what do you think? For how long this will continue?
At first, the reports that kept coming from Kano were very unassertive, because we didn't get conclusive findings as to what was killing people there. We at some point we learned that the NCDC office was shut down because I think a couple of people got infected with the virus, although I don't know how whether that is official. But it's unfortunate that lots of people have lost their lives, and the way things have unfolded hasn't really been very good. But the good thing there is there's a total lockdown of the entire state. Nobody's moving in, nobody's going out. There's a dusk to dawn curfew. All of these are measures put in place to see how they can curtail the spread of the virus. But I think the residents and people living in Kano need to take it upon themselves that the government can do their bit, but they have so much responsibility to do their own part. They need to play their own role by staying indoors, by self-isolating, and if peradventure they've come in contact with a COVID-19 patient, they should self-isolate for 14 days. And I also think there should be rapid testing in Kano State so that they can begin to isolate those that are positive, so that they don't keep infecting people with the virus. Because apart from the fact that you may be a carrier of the virus and you may not know about it, what people need to do, or what they can do in Kano, is to sensitize them the more. The radio, media, the entire media space should sensitize people. Their religious leaders should also go into mass sensitizations of people in Kano, because if people are not aware of this virus and they remain ignorant, they are still going to find themselves in this mirage of not knowing what to do or how to handle themselves.
Okay, thank you. Okay, finally, today Nigeria recorded fresh cases of this COVID-19. So how would you advise Nigerians, especially businessmen and women, on how to keep safe, especially the period after the lockdown?
First off, I would advise everybody to adhere to all the safety measures that the professionals have put in place. I'm not a health person, but I listen to the professionals in that area so that I can stay safe. I must also understand that in as much as the lockdown is taking a toll on everybody, we're indoors, we're not going out, we're not doing a whole lot. It's better to be safe. You understand? It's better to be safe, because it's only when you're alive you can make money, you can enjoy life, and everything that we may be missing now, or that may be taken away from us, like going out, partying, hanging out with friends, playing football, recreational activities, all of those things are still things we're going to enjoy after this pandemic is over. We know that this is not going to last for the rest of our lifetime. Definitely a solution is going to come out. But in the time being, we must be ready to put ourselves under the caution of these health professionals and stick to what they've said. So let's maintain social distancing as much as possible. And if we have to go out, let's always wash our hands. You understand? We should always wear face masks, and as much as possible, avoid touching your hands with your face. At least these are the basic things that we've been enlightened about. So if we can do the little on our part, if every Nigerian take it upon himself or herself to do this little and take charge of their own space, be responsible within their own quarters, I believe that it will go a long way in helping ourselves and the nation at large.
Thank you so much, Mr. Joseph Oroja, for coming on TV and Business. You've said it all. Nigerians, make sure you stay safe, use your face mask, sanitize your hands always, and maintain social distancing. And that's the much we have for you today on TV and Business today. I am Chiwendu Osisiago, and don't forget that you can follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook and YouTube, and of course on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Do have a wonderful day.